What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we are here with Knox of the Almighty Enforced. Thank you for being here today, man. It's great to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Alex. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so the new album, Kill Grid, scheduled to come out March 12th of this year. Do you just want to talk about like how the making of this album was in terms of like the songwriting and the recording and the mixing and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, I'll try and wrap it up cute. We've been writing. I mean, our last album was mostly a compilation of stuff. So we've been writing for 2 years just on this record. And so the excuse me, the songs are a little bit longer, but I think they're more fleshed out and they're fully realized. And the songs are just objectively better than what we wrote back in 2017. The recording process was pretty much the exact same. We worked with the same people, Bob Quirk and Arthur Rizek, and because they're friends of ours and we trust them. So it was kind of a no-brainer to stay in your lane and do what you know.
So this didn't feel like just a direct continuation of what we heard at the Walls, right? This is almost kind of like a new beginning. Do you almost kind of look at Kill Grid to actually be the real debut of what we would get to know from Enforced?
I guess that's I've thought about that. Because at the Walls, we just wanted we knew those songs that we had written had a lot more life in them. We had only done one DIY tour, a small tour down to a festival in Florida, and just a handful of local shows. So it's like we can reach a lot more people with these songs. We just need to work with the label who has bigger distribution and like an audience, because we can't reach everybody. So with At the Walls, we were able to reach a lot of people, and ultimately reach Century Media. So yeah, I think in a lot of ways, Kill Grid is for the band is like the first all brand new material big release. And for me personally, it feels like the album that I've always wanted to put out, and I've always wanted to be a part of. So on two different levels, it means like the world to me, and I'm happy that it's finally coming out.
And signing with Century Media too. I mean, being that they've signed a lot of bands that are really, really pushing the boundaries of some of the most extreme music, and signing bands like Lorna Shore and Frozen Soul and Skeletal Remains and Art of Shock and a lot of great, thrash bands, death metal bands. Like they seemed like to be the perfect label to, really get behind you guys, right?
Yeah, I think they're trying to push for like a whole, return to form of what they were doing in the early 80s in the 80s and 90s, of kind of getting back to that original sound. So they're signing a bunch of bands that embody that type of old school thrash, old school death material. So I'm just happy to be a part of it.
And you also mentioned that with Kill Grid, you were working on these songs for about 2 years. So is what we're hearing on songs such as The Doctrine or, Blood Ribbon or Trespasser or any of those songs, like, is what we're hearing how these songs were always originally meant to be, or did these songs kind of like change a lot over a span of time?
No, that's a good question. No, I would say 2 years mostly, because Hemorrhage is a very old song, and we didn't know how to finish it. Like we used it for intros for like live shows on tour and stuff. We would only play like half the song, and that would be the introduction for the whole set. So we've had that in our pocket for almost 2 years, but we're just like, we don't know how to end it. We don't know what to do with it. We just kept playing with it, and finally figured it out. But once we figured that out, everything else kind of steamrolled. So stuff like The Doctrine and Trespasser and Blood Ribbon, those are all a lot younger. But getting over that hemorrhage hill really helped us figure out how to figure out other problems, as like writing problems as they kind of came up and we came to a crossroads. It's like, if we can finish hemorrhage, we can do anything.
Yeah, like hemorrhage was basically kind of like the where it all began in a way for this album. That was like, once you figured that one out, everything was sort of like smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, I'd agree. There was always, parts and riffs that don't work, and you want them to work in one song, but it's not working, so you try and play with it with a different song. It sounds a little bit better, but what if you put it over here into this song? And you're like, oh, okay, that works a lot better. Oh, I have an idea now. And then you just everything kind of speedballs from being able to kind of like building with light riffs with Legos, or building songs with Legos. Mm-hmm. It's like, it doesn't really, you can't build this building this way, but you can this way. So just kind of picking and choosing where everything is supposed to go and arrange it all is super important. Mm-hmm. So we never throw anything away. We just put it on the shelf, and maybe it could be of use later.
Definitely. I've always thought that like throwing stuff away could always be like the biggest mistake.
It's very that's a detriment. You're putting yourself in a bad situation, unless that riff really sucks. But like something I would write would be like, no, because I write really bad riffs, so I give up.
Music is subjective, though. Who knows? Maybe the riffs you'll write will be the biggest hit Enforced ever had.
Oh my God. Okay. Now you're kissing my ass. I don't like it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Now, as a vocalist, though, has there ever been a time where maybe you had like a lyrical concept, or maybe an idea that could help influence the direction of the music, or have you always needed the music to come up with the lyrics?
Yeah, I've always needed the music first, but it's interesting that the music kind of adds to the lyrical direction, because there's a lot of songs I can't think of one off the top of my head where I had written the lyrics for it and given it to, or shown it to everybody, and they're like, your timing is completely different than what we thought than what the original timing is. And like, well, there's going to be solos here. We want to break here. We want the riff to breathe right here. And you just talk over all of it. And so that was the editing and cutting out a lot of lyrics was interesting. It was hard because I didn't want to take any out. But once we were in the we were in the studio, and I was trying to do all of it, and Will just came into the booth. He was like, I told you, like, you can't physically say all of these words, you're all of these lines. Like, you're screaming for a straight 3 minutes. There's no time for you to actually even breathe. So you have to cut these out. So we just went through in a parking lot and just cut out a bunch and just actually structured it to, verse, chorus, or line, part, bridge, whatever. And once we started recording, I was like, oh, this makes way more sense. And it's way easier to do. I just kind of have the tendency to just word vomit everything. Mm-hmm. So I don't really think about, like, can you actually say that out loud? Physically, I don't think you can. But, whenever we record again, I will keep that in mind. Now I know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because like I listening to your music, I mean, I almost feel that like if you were to recite your lyrics without screaming or growling, but just simply recite them like they're poetry, that could almost, you could almost be like, I would call you MC Knox, because you really have like the rapping sort of style behind it.
Dude, yeah. Hey, thank you for recognizing that. Someone brought that up yesterday. They're like, do you write poetry? I was like, no, I can't write anything if there's any music attached to it. And I think a lot of the like rapping kind of thing, I'm a huge Body Count fan.
Oh,
So just listening to Ice-T all the time, and like especially with the song Kill Grid, like that is 100% like Body Count done through like Max Calavera or something. Like it's the same style. That's what I wanted to like blend together.
yeah. And he did do a song with Max Cavalera, so it makes a lot of sense to compare
Yeah,
that to that.
yeah, and I love it. So just like once that just it's just kind of like a groovy, hard, slow, like mid tempo headbanger. So like, oh, I can play with this a lot. It can go so many different ways, but I just wanted to keep with the rhythm and the timing of it all.
Yeah. And like going to your overall style, because from showing Enforced to my fellow peers here in the metal underground and everything, like I've heard a lot of people label you guys as thrash, and definitely not too out of place. But like I see elements of hardcore, I see elements of punk, I see elements of like even grind here and there. Like you really have I feel like you have every raw aspect of every subgenre. So is it fair to say that maybe like you and everybody else in the band take inspirations from many different sources?
Yeah, we all listen. We all have like a hardcore punk background, so so that always kind of shines through in the music. But we're all really into like weird, others not weird, but just unconventional stuff. Uh, like I'm a really big Oxbow and Swans and Self Defense Family and Randy Newman, and I know Will is a big Madonna fan and Phil Collins fan. So that it all comes from somewhere. Uh, so yeah, it kind of blends everything, and even whether it be song framing and song structure, maybe poppy like Curtain Fire has a very controlled pop structure. But whereas, the Doctrine, it's just A to B, blistering fast. Like it's over and done with as fast as possible. So yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, it's definitely prevalent. Like I could tell that like it's not just five guys listening to the same band or taking inspiration from the same sources. I was like, no, these guys all have different backgrounds.
No, yeah, I totally agree. It's not like so a lot of YouTube comments is like, oh, it's Power Trip ripoff. It's like I don't think you've heard either, because they're totally different.
Who did they say you ripped off?
Power Trip ripoff.
Oh, really?
Dude, we get that every day. So it's just like, okay, like you're entitled to your opinion, that's fine. But I know you're wrong, totally. But it also doesn't sound like Enforced doesn't sound like a band that like, oh, they just listened to Slayer and wrote an album. It's like, no way, dude. We listen to a lot of stuff.
I see a lot of. Oh, you were saying.
Oh, sorry. And then
No. I was just saying. I compared you guys a lot to Sick of It All. That's one of the bands that you guys kind of reminded me of, because you really have such like a raw, old school, hardcore DIY vibe behind it. Like I get a vibe from your music. I'm not just like listening to it and headbanging. Like I listen to it and I get kind of like a vibe. Like I picture myself at like a hardcore matinee show, having to make sure I don't get my teeth knocked out. And I mean that as a compliment.
Oh, well, no, that is a compliment. I've just never heard the Sick of It All comparison before. That's pretty cool. I mean, I guess in a vibe, yeah. Wow, it's totally different. That just came out of left field for me. So I was like, oh, wow. Well, I guess you're right. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could see you playing with like a variety of different styles of bands. Like, sure, I mean, you could definitely play with like a new age sort of thrash band, but I could see you playing with like a death metal band. I could see you playing with like maybe like a Napalm Death. I could see you play with like a Municipal Waste. I could see you play with like a, maybe like some gore grind bands. Like I could see you play with like a Gore Guts, or even like maybe even a black metal band here or there.
Yeah, I think it's really versatile. And we've done those things though, like you just said. We went on tour with Iron Reagan and Sacred Reich. We were supposed to go on tour with this Indonesian grind band, Wormrot.
Oh, they're amazing.
Yeah, that was like a huge one. We were like, that was supposed to be in Sorry, I'm trying to wrangle some dogs real quick. Not strangle, wrangle some dogs.
It's all good.
Go, buddy. Go, please go. Please go. That was supposed to be in, I think, July of last year, and of course that didn't happen. And then we were supposed to, I think, we may have tried to book a tour with Imperial Triumphant. Like, I mean, I think the music can be applied to a lot of other more specific genres. If you're a fan of those, specific ones, you're probably going to like this too, because it's all just under the umbrella of aggressive music.
Yeah.
And it's just aggressive.
Yeah.
Hyper aggressive.
Yeah. Maybe do something really out of the blue, though. Maybe tour with like a Shinedown or something like that and really shock people.
I'd do it. And I would blow Shinedown out of the water every night.
Oh, man. That would be great.
It'd be great. I would love to do it.
Yeah. Either way, regardless of if people loved you or hated you, people are definitely not going to forget you.
Yeah. And that was the situation with on our tour with Sacred Reich, because we opened, then it was Leeway, then Sacred Reich, then Iron Reagan. And that was in 2019, early 2019. So no one knew who we were for the most part. And, we finished our set, and there was a few times in that like week and a half period where the fans would be like, more. And we're like, no, we can't. Like, we're the opening band. We can't play more. And that's the first time I've ever signed stuff. I signed an arm. Someone stole my set list and then gave it back to me to sign it so I could give it back to him.
Nice.
Just really cool shit. And I was just like, wow, like these people really like it.
Well, Sacred Reich fans are really nice.
Oh, dude. Yeah, everyone was great. The fans, bands, everyone was so welcome and just super appreciative. So that was an amazing experience. But I mean, we've also played stuff, like United Blood. We play house shows and book DIY tours. So we're accustomed to doing everything ourselves and staying kind of within the realm of what we know and who we know. And it's just, it's helped tremendously. It's like a whole groundswell of support.
I could easily see if you were to play maybe a festival where you're playing on a much bigger stage, I could see you easily shrinking that stage into the size of a DIY bar and grill club.
That's how it feels. Like when we played Canal Club for United Blood, it didn't feel like a big place, or it didn't feel like a big audience. Even, let's see, we played with Exciter on that Sacred Reich tour, and we played in Toronto, and I think there was almost 1,000 people there. I've never played in front of that many people. I mean, it's only 1,000 people. But just when the house lights would flash really quick and stuff, you just see that many people all crammed inside this tiny little space going ape shit. And we're just like, holy hell, this rules. It's better than sex. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final question I wanted to ask you is actually, you guys originated in Richmond, Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously when it comes to Richmond, Virginia, what are the bands everybody are going to think of? Lamb of God, Guar, Municipal Waste, Cannabis Corpse. It's great to have another new age sort of Richmond band come out. Was the scene as strong? Because, I interviewed John Campbell from Lamb of God last year, and
cool.
Yeah, and he mentioned, it was always a great scene there, because there was a very DIY, I think something called Book Your Own Life or something like that, and so is the scene for a newer band like you guys still just as thriving and just as engaging as it was maybe for a Lamb of God or a Municipal Waste or something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a hotbed of hardcore bands. It's constantly pumped out, and Virginia Commonwealth University is stationed in Richmond, and on a block off of campuses, it's gone through so many names: Twisters, Nancy Ray-Gun, Strange Matter, Bagels are. But the main venue for Richmond bar touring bands that are too small to play, like a 2,000 cap room, but too big to play at a house. Everyone's always played there. It's the perfect size room, and you can pack it quick, and you get some legendary shows out of there. That's unfortunately closed, but I mean, like, that's everyone always wants to play there. Everyone has. I mean, and then there's also, for bigger bands like the Broadberry, there's the National. But in terms of local bands, though, having VCU there kind of keeps a flux of newer people kind of coming and going within the scene. And if they like it enough, or they make a band of their own, like, they might actually stay if they drop out or graduate, and you've got more people in this underground scene. And it's just kind of, it's always ever present. Punk and hardcore metal is just ever present throughout Richmond. You can't find someone who hasn't been in a band or has been to, shows that you've been to or whatever. It's like the biggest little city.
Oh, that's a good way to describe it. The biggest little city. That's a great.
Yeah.
If somebody does like a Richmond documentary on the scene, that's a good title for it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's just like you can't throw a rock without hitting someone who's been in a punk band, or been in a hardcore band, or been in a metal and toured, and know so and so, and if you like, hey, you want to meet so and so? He's one of my best friends, and it's just like, well, wow, like, it's very tight knit,
yeah,
and close.
that's awesome.
And it's always been that way.
I wouldn't throw a rock at somebody who was in a hardcore band, but I see your point.
Yeah. One of those Rosie O'Donnell koosh balls. Something soft.
Exactly. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed catching up with you. Is there just anything else with Enforced you would like to promote for the release of Kill Grid, like maybe a live stream performance to hold some people over, or anything else you'd like to plug?
We have a little surprise the day it comes out on March 12th. We've worked really hard on it. So, and we're almost done with it. So I'm super, super excited for it to come out. I can't, I don't want to ruin the surprise. Live streams, I don't know. We're trying to think of ways we can celebrate the record release, but we're also running out of time. So we don't know if that's an option or something that we can do so quickly, because we all have full-time jobs and everything. So it's just scheduling anything is a nightmare. But follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. I think it's all Enforced RVA are the handles. We update it as soon as we know something, you know something. So we update it regularly.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
But I just wanted to thank you for your time as well. It's been great.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you, everybody. We are here with Knox of Enforced. Be sure to check out Kill Grid coming out this March via Century Media. This is Alex from New York, and we will see you next time.